Hey guys, it's Elle. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a recommendation video for you of possessive heroes. So I was inspired to make this video by Tori from A Novel Life. She just posted a possessive, obsessive heroes romance rec, and I was inspired by her to make my video, and I'll link her video down below. But I have just been reading a lot of good romances with some possessive heroes, so I wanted to share with you some of my favorites that I've been reading. So I feel like the one that kind of really wanted me to make this video was Dare to be a Duchess by Sapna Bog. So I listened to this on audio and it was just such a fantastic historical romance. So our heroine is half Indian and half English, and she feels like an outcast in society. People really hate her because of her race and where she's from. And so she is best friends with the daughter of a duke, and they always get into a lot of mischief. And her older brother, not the heroine's, her best friend's older brother, kind of has to look out for them and is always very grumpy dealing with them. And so they while she's like helping her best friend, like kind of have a rendezvous with this other guy, she has to distract her best friend's brother, which is the hero. And so she kisses him and he's like, what just happened? But then he leans into the kiss and she does too. And so that kind of sparks this insane chemistry that they have for each other and want for each other. And it is just so good. And so that kind of starts the domino effect of him becoming very possessive over her and just like always wanting to protect her from society and protect her from himself. He feels like he has this duty and obligation to marry somebody in high society. And she kind of has a secret identity that she's not really telling people about, but like of how she may or may not be a part of high society, like have like a social standing or whatever. And so he keeps trying to push her away because he's like, well, we can't be together, but they have this insane attraction for each other, and it's just really good, very angsty. I really enjoyed this one, and I loved the characters in this one, and I just felt like this was such a fun historical romance. I really loved it, and he becomes very like alpha male, especially in the bedroom, and it's very spicy, and I just really enjoyed this one. I give it 5 stars. It was such a fun, spicy historical romance. And I also wanted to mention Lady Goldying by Kelly Reid. So I wanted to mention this one because the Red Herring came out, I think it was last week when I'm filming this video, but that is the second installment of this story. So Nat and Asa have always pined after each other for years and years, and they kind of started having a little bit of a relationship, but he would always push her away because he is best friends with her 2 older brothers, and he didn't want to cross that line or like, you know, cause a rift in the family. So he always pushes her away, and he pushes her away until she decides to marry somebody else. And so she's married to him for a couple years, but something happens where she's not married to him anymore, and then she finds out that Asa is getting married, and so she decides to go and stop the wedding, but that doesn't happen. So it kind of starts off with them. He is just devastated, but she is like, I'm not going to stay here for Asa. If he doesn't want me, I'm going to let him have his life. And so she kind of really finds herself in work. She starts working, and she's from a very wealthy family in the South. And this is also a historical romance set in the 1930s, 1920s. And so she starts working for herself and really trying to find herself because she's always, you know, been latched on to, you know, her ex-husband or who, you know, whatever. And so she is trying to find herself, but then she knows he is the love of her life. And so there's lots of chemistry and angst, and it is just so good. And he's like, like almost goes on a date with another guy, and he's like, you can't do that, like I love you, you cannot go on a date with somebody else. And it's just like, well, that's such a double standard, Asa. And he like kisses her. It's just so good. I really, really love this duet inside of this series, the Belgrave series, and the second book is even crazier. And Callie Reed does such an amazing job with intertwining history and suspense in her books. Like, this was very suspensey with one of the characters, and it was just so much fun. I really, really loved it. I do recommend reading this series in order, but you don't have to. You could always go back and read the first book, which is about her older brother. But I love this book series. It is so much fun. I highly, highly recommend this book. Next, I wanted to mention Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. So I have mentioned this in a couple of videos now, but I really wanted to add this one in here because it's a new release and I want it to get the well-deserved love it deserves. So our hero and heroine were together in high school, but then something really traumatic and bad happens to the heroine where the hero is just like, this is too much for me, and he gets out of town, moves away, breaks up with her, doesn't see her for years until he finally comes back to town because his dad is suffering from some health issues, I think, and he sees her again and he's like, oh my gosh, the sparks are flying. And it's a second chance small town romance, but then there's some suspense because what happened that night with the heroine is related to other people, and those people start getting killed off in the town. And so the hero owns a like security company, and so he's like, well, I'm gonna take over your security now because we cannot leave you alone. And she's like, leave me alone, you left me in the dirt when I was hurting the most. And it is just such a powerful read, and he gets very possessive over her safety and wanting to make sure she's safe and protected, and it is just such a great romance, and it's the start to a new series by her, and I just really love this one. You should definitely go check it out. The next book I have is Blindside by Candy Steiner. So this one is a fake dating sports romance, and so our hero and heroine, the heroine is like the public speaking person for the football team of this college, and the hero is a football player on the team, and he just broke up with his longtime girlfriend, like high school sweethearts. Well, she broke up with him. He's devastated and he wants to get her back. So he makes a deal with Gianna, the heroine, that if she will help him, like if they will fake date, then she can get the guy she wants and he can get the girl he wants. But then he ends up kind of developing feelings for her, and she is developing feelings for him, but she is getting closer with the other guy that she thought she really wanted to date, and he just gets more possessive of her, and like especially in public he kind of blames it on like, oh, we have to play into the part of being in a relationship, but it's like, well, he actually is very protective and possessive of her and doesn't want anybody else to touch her or be with her. And it's just so good. I really, really enjoyed this one. It was just such a great college sports romance, and I really loved how much the hero cared for the heroine. Like, he did all these cute little things for her. Like, he would read her romance novels because and find like the highlighted parts that she loved just so he could like learn what she likes. And I just love this one. It's a very good sports college romance. The next book I have is What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. So this one, our hero and heroine were in an age gap relationship, and they broke up, and now the heroine is engaged to somebody else, and the hero is coming back and is like, wait, she cannot marry somebody else, like she is the one for me. And he kind of realizes like, oh crap, like she's gonna marry somebody else, I need to tell her how I feel. And so he comes back into her life and is kind of demanding of her like, we need to be together, you cannot marry this man. And he is also best friends with her dad, so there's that forbidden taboo element, and he gets very possessive over her and is like, you can't be with him, and uses like their chemistry to play into that and like to show her how much they work together and how much they are meant for each other. And it is just so good. It's very spicy. This is one of my favorites from QB Tyler. I just really, really love this one. So if you want a spicy forbidden age gap dad's best friend romance, definitely go check this one out. Yeah, next book is one of my all-time favorite mafia romances, and it is a duet. So our heroine is a lawyer and our hero is in the mafia, and he is like one of the mafia leaders in New York, and he's gotten himself into some trouble where he is being framed for murder. And she has to help him and be on his lawyer team, and she hates the mafia. She grew up in Italy, where the mafia was very prevalent and really damaged her family, and so she just hates the mafia now. And he is this big brooding man, and he is just so sweet and wants to get to know her. And it's very like, it's kind of grumpy sunshine, where she's the grumpy one, he's a little bit more sunshine, and they have this insane chemistry, and she ends up having to stay in his house, so it's like forced proximity, hate to love, slow burn, and it's just such a great romance. I love Gianna Darling's writing. This is one of my favorites from her, and it's just so fantastic. And his nature is to protect and be possessive of whoever he is with, but not in like a bad way. It's like a hot way, and I just love Dante. He's like one of my favorite heroes ever, and the heroine is just so strong and so badass, and I just love her so much. So definitely go check this duet out if you haven't already, because it is incredible. Last book I had to mention, of course, was Dean from The Bully. So this series is amazing. I don't know if you can, I don't think you can read, you might be able to read these as standalones in the series. I can't really remember. But Dean is just so possessive of the heroine and obsessed with her. And it is just amazing. Like, Dean is definitely one of my favorite heroes from Sophie Lark's writing. And so this whole series is kind of set in a Hogwarts-esque university, where all of the daughters and sons of famous mafias and mafia leaders come to the school to learn about the mafia and learn about how to be different people in the mafia, like enforcers, or if they're the mafioso or the capo or whatever. And so Dean, he is one of like the leaders. He's going to be a future capo, or like a leader of the mafia, of the Russian mafia, I think. And the heroine, she's like in the spy vortex, where she is very lithe and spy-y, and he saw her do something really bad in the previous book. And you should, if you're gonna read this as a standalone, you should read the book before this one, because it leads a lot to what goes on in this one. And so he kind of holds his power over her and starts to bully her, and is like, you will do what I want, or I'm gonna out your secret. And it turns into a romance, and it is so good. He just becomes obsessed with Kat, the heroine, and it's just like, nobody can touch her, and nobody, like, I am the only one that can mess with her. And it gets very, very spicy. It is like a Draco Malfoy redemption story, and gives him his story, and that is Dean, and I just love it so much. Like, I just love it. It is so good. It's so hot. Dean, I just love his character so much. I love how, like, kind of crazy he is, but he's very protective over Kat and just like possessive over her, and it is just incredible. I just love Dean so freaking much. Okay, well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I love possessive heroes. I could probably make this list go on, but I really wanted to share a couple of my favorites that I've been reading recently, and a couple of favorites that I read in the past year. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon.